You know how we talk to our AI assistants, right? We ask them questions, they give us answers. But what if they could do things? Like actually take action for you, manage your life, and get things done in the real world? Well, buckle up, because in early 2026, that science fiction idea became very, very real.
Yeah, that quote you just saw, that's not from a movie. That's a real person, totally blown away because their AI assistant called them on the phone and had a conversation. I mean, can you even imagine? This thing just exploded out of nowhere. It wasn't just a chatbot anymore. It was an agent that could plug into your life and act for you. A total game changer. And it all started with this one powerful idea.
So what is this thing? What is this revolutionary new agent? Let's get into the core tech that had everybody so excited, this idea of an AI with hands. Okay, so meet OpenClaw. The key thing to get here, the thing that made everyone lose their minds, is that it does stuff. We're not talking about a chatbot stuck on a web page, no way. This is a personal agent that you actually install and run on your own computer. You hit it up on WhatsApp or Slack, give it a command, and boom, it goes and does it. It's the difference between asking, hey, what are my flight details? And just saying, hey, check me in for my flight, and it just happens. And what could it do? Well, pretty much anything you could do on a computer. It could go through your Gmail and clear it out, organize your files by running shell commands, direct text commands to your computer's brain. It could browse the web to do research for you. It could even control your smart lights at home. But the really wild part is that last point. It could write its own new skills. It was constantly learning and expanding its own abilities thanks to this huge library of functions that the community was building.
But its rise to fame was messy. It started out as just a personal project called ClawdBot in late 2025, and it went viral almost overnight. So viral, in fact, that the big AI company Anthropic was like, hey, that name's a little too close to ours. So in this chaotic 5 a.m. session on Discord, the community scrambled and renamed it MoltBot. Then, just a few days later, they rebranded it one last time to OpenClaw to make it permanent. This whole timeline just shows you how fast and explosive this whole thing was.
And when I say explosive, I really mean it. In just a matter of weeks, the project shot up to over 114,000 stars on GitHub. That made it one of the fastest-growing open-source projects ever. Developers, hobbyists, everyone was just completely captivated. But all this incredible power came with a very, very practical problem. Which brings us right to the central conflict of this whole story. The Mac Mini problem. See, the dream of having your own personal AI had a pretty big catch.
The whole point of OpenClaw was privacy and control. It ran on your machine, which meant your data, your API keys, your private info, it all stayed with you. But it also meant you needed a computer that was on all the time, just waiting for your commands. And this led to what everyone started calling the Mac Mini rush, where people were literally buying dedicated little computers just to run their new AI buddy. So you're faced with this dilemma, right? On one side, you've got the self-hosted option. You get total, maximum privacy because your data never leaves your house. That's the dream. But that dream has a price. First, you're looking at a pretty steep upfront cost for the hardware. Then, you're on the hook for all the technical setup and maintenance yourself. And on top of all that, your AI is only as reliable as your home internet connection and your power grid. This whole hardware thing was a major roadblock for a lot of people. But then, a new solution came along, one that promised to get rid of the Mac Mini problem by just moving the whole thing into the cloud. So Cloudflare, the company that basically runs a huge chunk of the internet's plumbing, saw this Mac Mini rush happening, and they stepped in. They built this amazing proof of concept they called MoltWorker. The idea was simple, but absolutely brilliant. What if you could have an always-on AI agent with all the power, but without having to buy and maintain your own server? What if you could just run it on their massive global network instead?
So how does this magic actually work? Well, MoltWorker is basically a cocktail of a few key Cloudflare technologies. You've got Cloudflare Workers, which act as a serverless brain, meaning the code just runs when it's needed. You don't have to manage a server. Then there's the Sandbox SDK, which is like a secure, padded playroom where the AI can run code without breaking anything important. R2 storage gives it a persistent memory bank, so it actually remembers you. And finally, browser rendering gives the AI its own eyes and hands to see and click around on the web.
So now, let's go back to that comparison. With MoltWorker, that big upfront cost just disappears. It's replaced by a pretty reasonable monthly fee. The complicated setup? Gone. Now it's just a few commands in a terminal.
And your agent is no longer at the mercy of your shaky home Wi-Fi. It's available everywhere all the time. Of course, there's a trade-off. The big one? Privacy. Your data is now in Cloudflare's hands, not on a little box in your house.
And yeah, look at this chart. The numbers don't lie. If you went the Mac Mini route, you're out, like $650 in the first year. But with MoltWorker, maybe $240. That is a huge difference. Suddenly, having your own personal AI agent wasn't just for people with a spare computer and a bunch of cash lying around. It made it accessible. But you know how it goes. Convenience almost always has a catch. Because when you give an AI the keys to your entire digital life, whether it's on your machine or in the cloud, you are opening up a whole new world of risk. And this brings us to the final and most critical part of our story, the security nightmare.
This quote from the security researchers at Cisco just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly captures the tension here. The very thing that makes OpenClaw so amazing, its ability to act, is the exact same thing that makes it so unbelievably dangerous if you don't lock it down properly.
It didn't take long for security experts to find some really big problems. People were just leaving their agents totally exposed to the internet. No password, nothing. The agent was storing super sensitive API keys for things like Gmail and Spotify and plain text files. And because anyone could make and share new skills, it created a massive supply chain risk. Think about it. If a bad actor gets in, they aren't just reading your chats. They have full access to your system, the keys to your entire digital kingdom.
So here's the bottom line. On hundreds of these agents that researchers found just sitting out there on the open internet, an attacker could do anything they wanted. They could run commands, read every single private conversation the user had with their AI, and steal all the API keys they needed to just completely take over that person's digital life. This isn't just a simple mistake. It's a huge warning sign about what happens when we jump on powerful new technology without really understanding the risks. The keys to the kingdom were just sitting there for the taking.
And that really brings us to the fundamental question that this whole thing forces us to confront. Is the mind-blowing convenience of an AI that can run your life worth the terrifying risk of giving it the power to completely ruin it?
So, what's the takeaway here? Where do we possibly go from this? Well, the story of OpenClaw and MoltWorker isn't really about just one viral project. It's a preview of the future of AI itself. This entire saga, the crazy hype, the real-world problems, the clever solutions, and the absolutely horrifying security flaws, it's all a trailer for what's coming next. We are moving into an era of agentic AI. These are systems that don't just chew on data, they actively interact with the world. They take action for us. The genie is well and truly out of the bottle now, and we're all left to figure out the consequences.
And honestly, I don't think you can sum it up any better than this quote from the legendary AI researcher Andrej Karpathy. He just nails it. This tech is, on one hand, the most incredible sci-fi thing many of us have ever seen. It feels like the future is literally happening right now. And on the other hand, it's a complete and total security disaster waiting to happen. It's immense promise and profound peril, all wrapped up in one. The future is here. The real question is, what are we going to do with it?